We're live from the studios.
It's good to be home.
It is. We're so glad to be back.
Not like we went anywhere exactly, but
now we're right here.
And we apologize. We're one day late on our podcast. We had some things switch around on us yesterday, but we're here back on our regular day that we used to be on. So
even got the new kicks right here. Did you see the new logo, Mark?
I like it. I like it. I think it's sold out well and looks nice on the hat.
Yeah, that guy Burnett Embroidery. It's actually not a guy. It's a girl. Did you know that?
I knew it. I don't know if you knew it.
I know because, well, you know her too well. She's your wife. Kathy from Burnett Embroidery has helped finish and finalize, and Mark, I'm sure you had your hand in it too, but the final design for a printed hat in 3D. It looks really good. I'm super excited. The Messenger has changed, folks. It's not the Meade County Messenger, it's the Messenger. Changed that purposely so we could get out into our local community. Besides Meade County, we've got Radcliffe and Fort Knox, which makes up a large group of folks that live here.
It makes it harder if you're the Meade County Messenger. It makes it harder to go to
Radcliffe and Fort Knox.
Radcliffe, Fort Knox, Breckenridge County, wherever you may want to go.
Well, and honestly, the way the district is set up for the House representation, obviously it ends with the county with Steve Meredith's campaign, but it stretches in for the House of Representatives seat into that Radcliffe section in Fort Knox. So
the 27th district is part of Radcliffe is in with me along with Meade County is in the 27th district. So so that's. So we want to make sure we're reaching out to those people.
100%. You know what? So tonight we've actually got a couple of sponsors, so I want to get them out of the way. We got a couple of runs for them during the podcast. So I'd like to welcome you all. Stay tuned because the two people you're about to see in these two commercials we're going to talk about next. We'll be right back.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate. Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate. Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro-Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So you got both candidates neck and neck running against each other, got their own, directions that they're heading. And guess what we get to do next week, Mark? And
we get to go vote. No.
Yeah, well, you get to do that next
That's
week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Next week we get to go to a debate.
A debate.
That's right. We get to go hear these guys talk about the head-to-head. Talk about what they're going to bring to the table as as the senator for the 5th district.
That's right. Now, incumbent Steve Meredith agreed, and so too did Tom Ballinger, the opposition. And you will be the moderator. And
I'm going to moderate. You're going to host.
I'm going to host.
You're going to host through the Meade,
the Messenger,
the Messenger studios, and the Messenger, and we will have it at 7:00 on Wednesday,
the 15th.
The 15th, and that will be
at the high school
in the auditorium. Yeah, so it's going to be great. So I think that's going to be. It's going to be, it's the first time I've ever moderated, so we're gonna share the rules with the
contestants.
teams, the contestants this week, and they're going to give their feedback. But in a nutshell, we're going to flip a coin. We're going to ask. We're going to introduce them. We're going to ask them questions. They're going to answer them, and we're going to fill up an hour with some back and forth and let them. Basically give them some time.
I think it's going to be a great start to the civic process of our elections. I think for those, because I would offer to do this for the Democrat Party too. I think it would be great for those to see the Democratic candidates, but I don't think that I think they've got single people running, so they don't have any opposition in their primaries right now.
Yeah, for those that are running, there's not. I don't think there's very many that are actually running. There's one
in the general. I think is where we're going to see the contention.
There's one in the general against for the representative, and then there's is there anyone running against
Guthrie?
There's somebody running against Guthrie. That's
in the general.
In the general. That's about it, right? So,
Yep.
I don't think.
And
there's
House of Representatives, and I don't know if the Senate seat, state Senate seat, has opposition during the general. But
I don't recall. And
we will find out and get that back to you guys.
Forgive me if we've focused on the primary up till now, so I haven't really looked to see if anybody. But last I recall, there wasn't anybody.
I'm gonna look it up while you take us into segment. But so yeah, I'll throw it to you, Mark. I know that there's a lot of preparation. This will be your first one you moderate. But I think the thing.
We need if you want to ask us a question, if you want us to ask a question on your behalf.
Yep.
Send it to us. Either link, you can go into the comments here and put it in, or you can send an email to the Messenger.
That's right.
Who we're sending that to?
MCM Editor at meadecountyky.com. MCM Editor at meadecountyky.com.
Yeah. So if you send it there, those will get into my hands. We will go through. We're trying to keep it fair. We've asked both contestants to give us a list of topics they would like to address.
Well, they say these are the 5 topics that are important to their candidacy. They believe that these 5 topics address the issues that are most important to the constituency of our region.
Yeah, and they're pretty broad list, I think. So I think that they between the two of them, they're covering a lot. Now, it's not that we're going to necessarily ask a question out of every one of those categories, but I think that we'll be able to. We're finding good, solid questions to try to identify those things that you all want to hear out there.
Yeah, and at the ultimate end state of all of this, on behalf of the Messenger, the Republican Party for the GOP, Mark, I know you represent that as well as I do on a different hat, but the ultimate goal is for all people of the county and the district.
That's right.
To be able to see both of them side by side, and it's not just our county. This debate, you can be from the other counties that are covered: Grayson County, Breckenridge County.
That's right. All are invited. Are invited. Now you're not going to be able to ask questions from the audience.
No, you can participate. You can watch online. Just listen to see which candidate is best going to represent you.
There's plenty of room in the auditorium.
Yep, plenty of room in the auditorium. It would be awesome if it was packed.
It would be.
But you will be able to tune in online. It will play on meadecountyky.com on the website. It will play on YouTube, our social media at the Messenger KY. You'll be able, if you're a Facebooker or a YouTuber, you can see it on YouTube. All of those things.
Yeah, I think we're going to also cast it over on the Meade Truth. It'll be the Messenger feed, but we'll share it over on ours as well. So
it'll go out to both.
So you should see it here and at the Meade Messenger. So
tons of ways. So there's no reason you can't be informed about if you're a Republican voter. Now, obviously, I believe Democrats have a reason to be at this as well because,
this person's going to represent you. I mean, if you have a question,
send it in.
If you have a question, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, send it in.
Send it in.
We're not obviously, we've already got quite a few questions that have come in. Some are very pointed and such. So we want to make sure that it's the question is broad enough that it's going to be something that we can ask
fair and balanced
to both candidates and get a response, so that we're educating people about the candidates, not just we're not going to try to draw up a candidate against one on one side or another of a candidate. So we want to make sure that we give both sides a chance to
they
hear
will
a question,
they will make their own case for you, and
that's right.
And
we'll
you
let them
can
make
go
the
for
case.
That's
Our
right.
questions are not intended to make a case for either candidate.
That's right.
So and then next week we also have next week is the debate on Wednesday, and then we're going to on that Saturday we're going down to Somerset for the state convention. So that's that following Saturday, I believe. So we'll be down there for for the state convention down in Somerset. We'll be there for just for the day, and it'll be much like we did with the much like we did for the district, the second district convention down in Bowling Green. We'll be going over there, selecting additional delegates from the state level to go to the the Republican National Convention and to represent Republicans there, the Republicans of Kentucky there, and vote for vote for our delegates. Now, obviously, our delegates will then vote for our presidential elector, or our presidential candidate. Of course, it's going to we're going to be voting for Donald Trump. I don't think there's any doubt about that. There's not going to be any last minute changes. There's not going to be any tricks or whatever. I mean,
you mean
Donald Trump
based on the primary elections? Yeah, Donald Trump is the candidate for the Republican Party.
So when the Republican primary happens, Donald Trump is the only one running in the candidate. Everyone else is already conceded, and so Donald Trump will be our candidate, and Kentucky will vote. And I'm hoping that we can get as many people out there to come vote for Donald Trump in the primary, so that we can have a show of force, so that when we go to Washington, to the RNC, the Republican National Convention in Wisconsin this year. I think it's going to be in Milwaukee. And when our representatives go there, they're going to proudly be able to stand up and say, we overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump from Kentucky. Kentucky is proud to have Donald Trump as our candidate, and then we need that show of force, because look what's going on in these Democrat-run county or states where they're trying to run him into they're trying to get him in, put him in jail. Really and truly, they're just trying to get in his way of an election. Why do they wait 3 years to put these cases out, and they just happen to all come up at once right before an election or during an election cycle? So it's not going to matter. He's not going to have to worry about Kentucky. He's not going to have to worry about most of the southern states. We're all voting for Donald Trump, and we're all going to have a show of force. But we need every person out there, Meade County. We need you to go vote. We need you to go vote. You have basically a week and a half. It's a week from Tuesday will be the primary. You will be able to go vote next week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
You mean the week before the election?
That is the week before the election.
Not next week.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, no, it is next week. Yeah. I'm sorry.
The 15th. The 15th is the Wednesday. The next day you can start voting.
Yeah, it's the Saturday. Yeah. We're out of town, and that's all-day voting at the Farm Bureau building at the fairgrounds. So to answer the question earlier, we were talking about the Senate for the District 5. So the Democratic Party doesn't have a primary per se, but there was a Jamie Skudlerick I'm going to hope I said that right.
That's in the 5th District?
Yeah, it's in the 5th District. She announced and filled out some stuff on the surveys, but she probably won't. You probably won't see some stuff about her until we get into the general once the dust is settled from the primary. But so we'll cross that bridge, and hopefully, again, you got a competition to the general in the Senate. You got a competition to the general in the House, and so then we've got our state representative, Congressman Guthrie, which we will watch all the way up until the general. And then, so there's going to be a lot more even follow-up action that goes on throughout the year once we get closer to the general election. And, of course, a lot of people turn out to vote for the general election because it's a presidential election, but it's important that along the way you understand the importance of not only voting in your primary election, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, but it's also important to just be a part of it and know who these people are, because they're the ones that spend all the money that gets handed down, and they're the ones that represent you, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether you like the win at the finish or not. Our voting process, it's official, it's done, and boom, that's our candidate. Well, we need to be able to know who they are and know if they're going to represent us, our values, our morals, and
absolutely,
and waste our money or spend it wisely.
We've both got to know both of these candidates for the Republican primary very well. I look forward to the primary, and to tell you the truth, I kind of look forward to the primary being over so that we can kind of.
We don't get a breath, Mark.
Well, there is a breath a little bit, but it's June is going to be a tough month anyway, because by the time you have, we've got some family vacation in June, and we've got some other things going on, but it's, so there'll be that little bit of a respite, but then we get right into, the campaign season with the, with the county fair. The Meade County Fair will be coming, so we'll have that, getting prepped for that. We have, it's a busy time of year for us too, from the business and such, so that we can because there's a lot of.
I'm hoping to get some swag before we get to the fairground, but we can talk about that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you'll get your swag. Your swag will come in and be fine by the time then.
Fairgrounds,
yeah. So
hey, I hate to take it. We're going to take it to another quick commercial break.
All right,
and then we'll be right back.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement, and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate. Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
Well, if you're back with us, we're here in the studio, and it is Mark and I. With us, we're here in the studio,
and
there's the echo. I love it. Anyway, sorry, the echo. It's interesting learning how to do all of this and get the timing right. And sometimes I screw it up, but that's okay. We're a B operation. We're not an A operation.
We're working on it.
It's all about community.
Yeah.
So Mark, I'm glad to have the host with you tonight. You're the host with the most. So going forward, what's your take on going into the 18th of the month and being at the state?
At the state convention. So, I mean, that's an interesting process. There was a lot of contention and things. The Republican Party in Kentucky. So this is my take. So the Republican Party of Kentucky, for a long time, we were kind of beaten up by the Democratic Party. They were trying to keep us in such a way, and it kind of makes you feel like, okay, we're in a, we're not, we're the redhead stepchild, if you will, right? We're part of the family, but we're not part of the family, if you know what I mean.
I do.
So they just wanted us to keep working and keep paying taxes and letting them figure out how to spend those taxes. And so for years and years we were beat up. Our politicians were beat up. They were going in and not being able to get things done. Well, now over the last 8 years, the Republican Party is become the majority party, and in that you've got to kind of start.
Yeah, we don't show up like the majority party, though.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you got to get out and vote.
It's hard. It's hard to get people to realize that they don't expect that this is going to be a big deal, but it is. It's a big deal to go choose the people who are going to represent you.
I will say it 1,000 times over and over again. If the counties like our county, where our voter population is higher, there's more Republican voters than there are Democratic voters.
Yeah,
I don't care whether you're, Democrat or Republican. Our turnout numbers for both parties sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm focused on Meade County.
No, I got it. But
get more Meade County folks to the polls.
And if we did, and other counties did the same thing, these big cities wouldn't matter anymore.
No,
they wouldn't matter at all.
People have to realize that even this fall, if everybody decided, oh well, Donald Trump's going to win Kentucky, there's no reason for us to go vote. I mean, what you're saying is that okay, I'm going to dilute my vote, but I'm not going to show up to go vote because, which means that every big city vote counts more.
That's right.
There are 4.5 million people in the state of Kentucky, and I believe the voter registration is around something like 3.49 million, something like that. It's about 3.5 million. About 77%, I think.
Right.
Of the population is eligible to vote, but because they're 18, they're at least 18 years or older.
Yeah.
And there's some felons and stuff that are mixed into that aren't eligible to vote, but that's, it's neither here nor there. But, our turnout, and even in this general election, is going to be closer to 50%, right? Half the people are not going to show up to vote. And let me tell you, this is why it matters.
I'm going to bet you less than half the people show up to vote.
Yeah, well, for a presidential election, typically in the state of Kentucky, it gets pretty close to 50% most of the time. So that's a presidential election is looked at much higher.
What's your prediction for the primary?
For the primary, if we get to, I don't know if we're going to get to 20%.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's
20% of 30,000, or 20% of 16 or something. I forget what our number is.
20% of the 20% of it's like 13,000, almost 13,000 voters, something like that in the Republican Party in Meade County. It's not quite that. It's like 12. It's in like the 12.7 or something like that. But it's just under 13. And so because we're at 50, we're starting to work on 52%.
It's 2,500 people showing up out of 13,000 people.
Yeah, I mean
those people are telling you, well, we voted. Where were you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's like I don't want to berate people and try to talk down to them because they didn't go out and vote because there's a lot of reasons that they don't. But it's,
absolutely.
But we're trying to make. My point is that there's opportunities to go vote. You have 3 days before the election to go vote early. Now. There's a lot of controversy about that. A lot of people think, oh, you should only vote on election day. listen, if we can get more people to go out and legitimately vote in an election, right? In every election, I'm all for that. Yeah. Right. So, but as long as we can identify them and they use their ID, they can only go vote one time. Right. So there's a nice system. They're using it in Meade County. We've had it for this is a couple election cycles now that we've had this new system. We tried to get Kathy to come on, but she's we really need to have Susan on. We haven't had Susan on in a while.
Yeah,
we need to have her come on and kind of give us an update on what's going on. So that may be a good one for us to have the week after when we have.
Well, I may get her on just on the messenger together to talk about it. So coming on. So.
Well, I mean, we could possibly do it. We should have had her this week, but we thought we had something else lined up and it didn't pull through. So
we do have Brett Guthrie coming. We'll tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, he'll be on. Minutes. He'll be on in 2 weeks, right after the election and such. So we'll have Brett Guthrie come on and do an update with us. He wants to come on and talk about some of the things that have passed up and some of the things that's going on. He won't be live in studio probably. Because they have vote schedules and things up there that they have to work through. But he'll be here on the following Wednesday. So the 22nd is where we have him scheduled to be on with us. So we'll be on at I think 5:30. From 5:30 to 5:45. I think he's got a 15-minute window. He's trying to
take it.
Yeah, so we'll take that. And 15 minutes is plenty of time. And but I think we'll be able to have Susan on that time after that. So we can talk to her and see if it fits her schedule to come on for about maybe 30 minutes after Brett's finishes up. So it'll be a good show, I think. But let's talk about this new system. If you've gone and voted in the last 2 cycles, then you've seen this. You've seen this device, and they go in and it actually scans your license and looks up to see who you are, right?
No more dead voters.
Yeah, so exactly. So now it's like you have to have an ID, right? It pulls up your information, your voter ID from your ID, right? So now it's tied to your voter information, and that is a live document. That part is connected to the internet, so it's going out and it's making basically it's marking you as voted, so that if you went out and went to one of the other locations, it doesn't matter because it's all coming off that central database saying that you voted, so you can't vote again. Right. So, but that part, the identification is on. Is using a server, right? It's online. Now, our tabulation machines are not. Tabulation machines are still done locally, and all you're doing is you get the paper. Now, the other part of that is the system now will print. So because there was some controversy in some areas where somebody said, "Hey, we went to one of these voter centers, and we checked in, and they gave us." We went over and said, this is who, they gave us a little tag or something that said, this is where I vote, my precinct, and they'd have to give them a ballot from that precinct. So it seems like it would work. However, human error creeps in and says, oh, well, I thought I was grabbing, this precinct, but I was actually grabbing, a different precinct. So some people got the wrong precinct in these voting centers. I don't know how often it happened in Meade County exactly. I don't think it was a big number here, but I heard it happen quite a bit in other counties. And because I think we do a really good job with our elections here. People really care about getting it right. They work really hard to do that. But it does happen. Error does happen.
Sure.
And in those cases, a lot of times you didn't find out until after the fact because you go home and say, hey, did you vote for such and such? And they say, it wasn't on my ballot. Oh, well, that's what happens, right? So now to fix that, when you scan in and it identifies you, it prints your ballot.
Yeah.
So it prints a blank ballot and it identifies you.
Boop. That was just a replay. Go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry.
When you scan in and you scan in and it identifies you, it says where you're supposed to vote, and it prints the ballot for your area. Now, you should still look and have a good understanding of what ballot is the correct one or not. It should tell you what your voter is. A lot of people don't even know what their precinct is. There's a precinct name and there's a precinct number. So if you go to Ashcraft, for instance, right? So Ashcraft, I believe, is A02. right? Brandenburg, there's Brandenburg East, there's Brandenburg West.
Is that you or me?
What?
That high his sound. Oh, never mind. That's me and my VA kicking in. Go ahead. Ow.
I was like, I have no idea what that
I'm
is.
having ringing in the ear. It's a terrible disease.
Especially when you're trying to do audio.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, I never heard it that bad before. It was so bad.
So we have a. So it prints out the ballot for you. But you still need to validate. Is this the right precinct? You should educate yourself. You can go do a Google search on where do I vote in Kentucky, and it will take you to a website.
Yep.
You put in your basic information. You don't even have to give your social security number, just your name and your birth date, and it will tell you where you vote, right? It'll tell you how you're registered. It'll tell you where to go vote, including the address and everything. Look that up. It'll tell you what your precinct name is and what your precinct number is. So if you go to A01 and you get the A02 ballot, because see, in Ashcraft where we live, now we're not A, we're D02. So I didn't even I didn't even have that right, but it's D02 is the 4th district, which is Brandenburg East, Brandenburg West, and Ashcraft. But D02, I believe, is Ashcraft, if I remember right. But we don't have any vote in Brandenburg, right? So Brandenburg East and Brandenburg West have mayor and city council. Ashcraft most of Ashcraft is outside of that. So so we don't get to vote in that.
So the bottom line is when you walk up, the folks there that are working the tables, I don't know what they're called, sheriffs or whatever, but there's a sheriff that is the rule breaker. But the people that are there, they will help you find which precinct you're in, and if it does look confusing to you, before you walk away from their table and go to start penciling in stuff. To Mark's point, you need to make sure that it is the right sheet in front of your precinct. They do have a really good process here in Meade County. They ask you your name, where do you live, and they typically know where precinct you're in, and they kind of get you squared away. But I don't think we have that problem right now in our county.
No, I mean,
I think they've done a good job
there may be a pocket of human error somewhere where one here. I mean, you can't ever say that when you don't have involved.
You don't have a dead voter though.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, if we had a dead voter, it would be somebody who died, who voted early and then died in the election, which technically. And I learned this from Susan at one time. They have to go find that if a voter passes away, they're supposed to go find that ballot and remove it because that person didn't. A valid vote is only until you have to be alive on election day. So because that's what they don't count those votes until election day.
So if I early voted and died the next day before the final election day, it would be removed.
If you went on Thursday,
early voted,
and you would not be able to remove your ballot. It's it's if you did an absentee ballot.
Oh, okay.
Right. So So I mean, and again, these are questions we should ask Susan because I'm going by my memory, and I don't live in this process every day. So
so folks, we'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to talk about the way ahead. We're going to have Brett Guthrie on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what we're going to cover there, and then we're going to fill you in on a little bit more of what to expect and where to go for the great debate in Meade County with the 5th District. So we will be right back after these messages.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfurt. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfurt. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate. Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfurt. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfurt. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st. 21st.
All right.
We are back.
We're back. All right. So we're back and live. So I was just confirming with our.
We are back.
We're back. Uh-oh. We're echoing.
The echo.
Again.
I know. I
we
should
gotta get that figured out.
I got it. You're good.
I mean, I know you know what it is, but you got to hit the button.
I know it.
So,
I'm a bad button pusher.
We conferred with our election consultant in studio. So we have a sheriff. So the sheriff is actually kind of like oversees, and if there's any complaints, to make sure that they're the ones that stand at the end of the line to make sure that when the last person, I believe they're the ones that go out and actually stand at the end of the line to say at 6 o'clock when the polls close, whoever's in line at 6 o'clock can vote, right? So they will go through and vote. So the sheriff will go stand behind that person at 6 o'clock. And if you're already out there in line or whatever, they're going to let you be in line, and they're going to stand behind that last person. And so then they'll walk up as they walk up and they get to that, and they know that's the end of the line, and they will turn people away that got there after the polls close. So that's technically how we close the polls. And then look, if you get there at 6 o'clock and the sheriff's walking out there and he sees you walking up, he's not going to just, or he or she's not going to just go run out there and say, no, you can't vote. They're going to, these are your neighbors and people. They're going to let people, if you're there legitimately to vote and you're there, and you're walking up to the line, they're going to stand behind you, right? They're not going to turn you away. At least not here in Meade County. I don't know about any other county, but when you look at then you have the clerk. The clerk is the person that scans your ID, and they are the ones that kind of like validate who you are. And then you have the judges. Those are the ones that typically give you your paper, your ballot, right? And they say, okay, hey, we're so you can go over and vote, and then put it in the machine. And the sheriff is kind of out there, like I said, to kind of like oversee complaints and things that are going on. So it's it's a good process. There's both Republicans and Democrats in both. So you have if I remember right, you have a Republican. You have one of each, right? A Republican judge. You have a Republican and a Democrat clerk, and a Republican and a Democrat judge, and you have a Republican and a Democrat sheriff for every precinct.
And they're wearing boxing gloves, and they've got a big old baseball bat with spikes on the end of it, like in Walking Dead, and then they're carrying heat.
I don't know what precinct you vote in.
They don't do all that?
They don't do it here.
Well, how do they make sure that if somebody's acting up, they don't keep them in line?
Well, then you just call the
real sheriff.
You call the real sheriff. The real sheriff, the sheriff of Meade County, the elected sheriff, is a member of the election board. So he is the sheriff of the sheriffs, right? And so they are part of the election day process. So
what do they do with the big old baseball bat with the big spikes and all that other stuff?
That's not part of the kit.
They don't have that.
No, just paper and pens is basically all you get out there.
Don't they have some kind of security box?
The pen is
Don't they have some kind of security box to hold all this stuff in so it doesn't get
each box is each tabulator is a security box.
Now, is it true on election day? As long as I'm in that line before 5 o'clock or whatever the time, that's 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, as long as I'm in that line, that sheriff has to stay there with me until it is midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever
it takes.
Until I've got a chance to vote, as long as I'm there in line before that time.
Is that ringing in your ears? Because we just covered that.
I was just making sure. That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So whoever's in line at 6 o'clock, the sheriff will go stand behind them.
Not 6 o'clock and 1 second.
Well, no,
5:59 and 59 seconds. It's 6 o'clock.
What I said.
Bam.
He's not going to. He doesn't go out there early. It's 6 o'clock. He walks at 6 o'clock. He walks out. If there's people coming up to get in line, those people get in line.
All right. So in perspective, I'm rolling up. It is 5:59 and 30 seconds, and I'm squealing tires on pavement, finding me a parking spot. And I have to walk all the way across the parking lot because it's full, and here I come a-running, and it's 5:59 and 59 seconds, and it turns 6 o'clock, and he's standing at the end of the line, and he's seen me running from across the parking lot. Is he going to let me vote?
I would say most of the time, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Because, I mean, if you're there, they're going to vote.
I was there, but I was clear across the parking lot.
Well, I mean,
wasn't there.
What is clear across the parking lot?
The high school's got a big parking lot.
It does, but why'd you park so far away from the polls?
Because everybody's going to go vote because we've been talking about voting so important.
Well, yeah.
Now
here's the good news is, the good news is that in the past the high school has been your voting center where anybody anywhere in the county can go vote.
Yes.
The middle school is going to be that way too.
Wasn't that nice?
So you'll have your standard precincts for the middle school, which will be like your which will be Ashcraft and is it Doe Run over there or something like that. Mm-hmm. There's a couple, 3 over at the middle school. Then you're going to have the regular high school ones, but those are you're going to be anybody's going to be able to walk in there and vote.
Okay,
right. So you'll be able to walk into either one of those facilities. You'll be able to cast your ballot regardless of what precinct you live in. Everywhere else is by your precinct. So Paineville will be your. If you're in Paineville, you'll have to be in one of those Paineville precincts that vote at the Paineville school. If you're in Flaherty, same thing. You'll have to vote at the you have Flaherty and you have Akron. I believe is still open, right? So I think you'll have those facilities will be open and running with just their standard. Sure. Again, we should try to get Susan on next week to clarify all the voting and early voting. Now, early voting is still going to be at the fairgrounds, so on those 3 days. So I believe that's going to be over. I believe that's going to be over at the Home and Garden Center, but I'm not quite sure because I'm.
So let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
When we get Brett Guthrie on next week, which I'm looking forward to because he was excited. First of all, he was excited to see us. You weren't with me, but I was filming the Abound Credit Union and the new Radcliffe Baptist Health. Great facility. Super excited. He was there. He was fundamentally or instrumental in also getting funding for that to grow there in Radcliffe. And he very much mentioned my name and your name when we talked and said, I need to get back on your show. And so I was super excited that you were able to get him on the schedule because what he wanted to talk about what I'm excited about, and you guys got to tune in next week when the Meade Truth comes back on the Messenger Studios because he's going to give us the behind the scenes of all the funding that, everybody's like, we don't want to fund Israel. No, we should fund Israel. Or they want to fund, or the funding that went to the Ukraine, but it's a behind the scenes look at the funding and what had to aspire in like real time. So it's not like we got a congressman on and he's on a national news media outlet. He's coming here as your guy.
He's your representative. He wants to come on and talk to you and let you know, hey, this is what the vote was about. This is how it came about, and get the national spin out of the way because a lot of people don't want to fund Ukraine anymore, and that's fine. I'm one of them. I think that we've overfunded Ukraine in this effort.
That's right.
And so I'm all for it. But there's compromises that are happening up there, and I want to get his take on it as much as anybody, because if you want to help fund Israel, then they were kind of holding that funding up for get funding for Ukraine. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it's the oddest thing because the liberals used to be the ones that said, hey, we don't want to fund war, but these prolonged wars. But it seems like the liberals are the ones that are getting us in prolonged wars and then are funding it They want to fund it. So, it's just a strange thing. Right. And then, of course, when it comes to Israel, Biden has flip-flopped back and forth on that. And he doesn't really want to fund Israel. I think he really, in his heart, he wants to fund Israel, but he knows that his constituents in Michigan are up in arms about it. And, they're threatening to not vote for him in the election. So he's thinking, I've got to win them back. So now he's holding up arms and things that were voted on and agreed upon before for Israel, and now he's holding them up because he thinks that he feels that he has to do that to get votes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's such a contrast to what we had because when Donald Trump was president, mm-hmm. he was pushing to get us out of places. He was trying to get us out of Afghanistan. He had a plan to get us out of Afghanistan. And of course, when Biden, won the election in 2020, mm-hmm. And then that the plan was to get out, and it's like, we're going to get out. But the way Biden went about it was like, it didn't make any sense. It's like, let's leave all this equipment there. Let's just jump out. I mean, and so now we've basically funded the Taliban. Mm-hmm. We've given them arms.
Right.
Yes, of course, they don't have the full functioning of everyone, but they have the stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. And there's no reason for us to have left like we did.
Not at all.
And so we could have easily said, okay, we're going to be out by this date, but we're going to do it this way and pull people out. And it was like, it was just such a strange thing the way we did that. And it left people behind, and we left equipment behind. People got hurt because we didn't have a good security force on hand. Mm-hmm. It was just a mess. And it was like, that type of thing could have, and I believe that Donald Trump had a much better plan to get us out because he was letting the military develop the plan. He wasn't just saying, get them out by this date and that's it. And just leave everything behind because he knows, one, how much it costs us to get that equipment. Mm-hmm. And he knows another that, it's basically funding the enemy. And mm-hmm. so there's a way to do things, and there's a right way and a wrong way. And I don't think that Joe Biden understands that. I mean, he thinks it's a political thing, always a political thing for him.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what's really right and what's really wrong. It's about how can he gain politically. Mm-hmm. And I think that he gains monetarily through his son.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So we need to, that's why we need to make sure that Donald Trump is the next president. I think that he will, be able to reverse a lot of these things. I don't think these things are permanent. I think that if we can give a strong effort to get the Senate, and that means, hey, you may, if you're Republicans and you may need to go help, help in other states. Right. If you have relatives in some of these swing states, maybe, call them, talk to them, tell them, this is what's happening. Try to make sure that they're going to go vote in their area. We're not asking you to go vote, but you may go knock on doors. You may go do some help at a printer or something somewhere that's helping with the advertising. We've all done that in the past where, when Ohio was kind of up in the air for John McCain, between McCain and Obama, some of us went up to Ohio and worked. We took a few days off. We went up and worked, and what we did was some of us were just going to a printer and we were making sure the cards that were going out were getting printed and make sure they were sorted and all that, and even getting them to the post office. Every little thing like that helps if you can just go out and work. And it takes effort like that to do that. Now, you could do the same for Donald Trump. If you're going to come here, you're going to vote in Kentucky. You're going to obviously be home to vote in Kentucky, but it may not be as important for you to be working hard here to get more and more votes for him here. We could go and help out in other states. So be prepared to do that. Help if you want to see this election happen, and you want to see Donald Trump elected, then be prepared to go work in other states. Go talk to your family. Go work with them to see what they can do. Make sure they got signs out. Make sure that they're
loud and boisterous about it, and make sure that they're helping in their areas. It's going to be very important. Ohio is still somewhat in play, although it's more solid red has been in a while. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump's going to need help in Pennsylvania to make sure that happens. Right now, the polls look really good. Michigan is teetering between Trump and Biden. It's going to be very close. I did see a poll over the last few days where Minnesota became in play, which has not voted for a Republican since I think 1968 or something like that, or something. It's 1972 maybe.
Yep.
I think it was 72. And yeah, not even. I think that was the only state that went for Mondale even against President Reagan, if I remember right. It was Reagan that had the big sweep, and so so those areas you can help. Right. You can call people. You can,
right.
Sometimes you can go, if you can travel there and go knock on doors, sign up and go do it. If you can't, then sign up to make phone calls from your house. Call your neighbors or call your friends that may live in those areas. Get them on board. Give money, right? Give money to your local party. Give it to the state party. Give it directly to a campaign because every dollar is necessary to win. It's not if you believe that Donald Trump needs to be the next president of the United States, and these are the things you have to do to go work and not just worry. You sit back and worry about whether or not somebody's because sometimes you have to go pay people to be election observers. So you have to buy you have to pay lawyers and things to go sit and on their behalf and represent the campaign. That takes money because those are law firms that are hired to do that, and it takes money. So you need to go out and get that, and you can give it to your local party. I mean, we need all the help we can get so that we can get, and then we can actually funnel some of that money up to the campaign directly. But we all need your help, and so if you can, however you want to volunteer, just give us a call. Our number here is 270-945-3418. So you can call us on that number. You can give us, you can ping us on Facebook or on X, on any of those, and we'll be glad to put you in touch and glad to take your volunteerism if you want to give it. That's a lot of words.
You said a lot of words, Mark, but I think they're all good words, especially for the Republican Party and for the Meade truth. I don't have any more to add tonight other than get out and vote. From the messenger standpoint, I know this is a discussion a lot for the Republican Party, but I say this again, over and over and over again, go vote. Get out, go vote. Be part of the process. If you've never voted before, go be part of the process. If you haven't voted in years, go vote and be part of the process. Participate. Run for office.
Run for office.
That's right.
Be ready to. Give. There's a lot of ways you can give back, and running is one of them.
I was running. Anyway, well, Mark, why don't you close us out and let's call it a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. I know we've had a lot of things going on with ads and things, but we're trying to really, step up our game a little bit and trying to get things going. And guys, we really appreciate you coming and listening to us. Next week we'll have the debate, so we'll be on next Wednesday night at 7:00. We'll be at the high school, so come out and visit us there. Then right the next day, voting starts in Kentucky. Early voting will be at the fairgrounds, and then on Election Day at your normal precincts or at one of the voting centers, the high school or the middle school here in Brandenburg. But go vote. Do us all proud. All of us go out and represent, and let's go out and make and put a huge wave together for Donald Trump in the Republican primary. And oh, by the way, while you're there, there's a couple of other folks that are on the ballot as well. So go out, let's do our duty, and let's make sure that we take this one home for Donald Trump. So That's all I got for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
I will see you in the morning here. I have actually Dr. Mark Martin will be here in the morning on the podcast show. He will be here to talk about the teachers, how Meade County schools are doing in comparison to the rest of them. And we will
Good night, everybody.